Okay. Would you agree that the information is implied? You agree? Yep. Does anyone see, because half of the students in the state could not do it, what could have made it tricky? Obviously reading inferentially would help. Did anyone look at the role of the word lurched? Yes? What did you think? I'll put you on the spot, sorry.
Well, it's not a usual term in use if you're saying something's wrong with you, so it's not lurched to that.
Yes?
They have to link lurched to anxious. So they're actually having to link two words and be able to say
Yes.
the meaning as well as be able to do that meaning.
Yeah. They've got to, Patrick's stomach lurched. We aren't going out, are we? He asked anxiously. But what preceded that? The mum came in and she said, you're all ready, but we can't go till 8:30 at the earliest, you know. Nothing will be open till then. Patrick's stomach lurched. You have to connect. That's the implied level. You've got to connect the paragraph, the preceding paragraph, and then you have to understand the word lurch to help you get to that. Does that make sense to you? And this is what data analysis is. If we keep going at a superficial level, we will get what we've always got. If we want to shift student learning, a shift of teacher practice involves a shift in student learning. So this is the level of data analysis that over time we need to build up. A couple of other things. In the question 20, the skill level that is stated in the report says, reads on to interpret a story. But my thing is, what is missing there is, what you actually have to do is read on and connect information across two sentences. And that's the bit that's missing. And would it be reasonable to say that we need to be aware of teaching for that? Yes? Dead silence? Yes, Sue. Can you read the question for me?
Well, the one before was Patrick's stomach lurch, and even this one, why is this particular Saturday a special day for Patrick?
Yes.
There's always two answers that there's a possibility.
Yes, and
so the answer is not there, but there is always two that
could be.
There, but two that
could
So
be.
not only do they have to work out the vocab, they've got to go back and then make an educated guess as to which one would be closer to the correct answer.
Yes, that's right. So there's a range of skills you need to have, and you need to use them in an integrated way and be able to do it quickly. Yes?
Just related to what Sue just said, one of the bits that I found quite a useful sort of skill builder is to get children to write multiple choice questions themselves about a particular text, then they use that pattern of two things that could both perhaps work, but one of them is definitely the one that has.
So you're actually explaining and going back into the text as to why one is more correct. Is that what you're saying?
Well, sort of children know how, you can have two pieces of information that are very, very similar, but one is the one that is
Yes.
most relevant to the text.
You need to be able to read closely. What I want to do now, thank you for that, what I want you to do now is, I ask you to bring the question answers in order of difficulty. Track through, and I know some of you have started to do this, with that range of questions here, track through, say, your grade 5, look through these questions, and before you rush in, let me just give you a little pointer. Track through and find some students, because these are all about inference. Track through and find some students who you think their data's a bit wobbly. The ones who, if you just go down that column that's on the far right and you can see a raw score, anyone with 30 to 35 will have done pretty well across the whole range of questions. Anyone with a really low score, you are going to know, will not have done well across the range. Go in and have a look and find some students around 20, 21, 22, 23, and see if you can see a pattern of responses for those answers to these inferential questions that we have up here. Pick 2 or 3 students, see if you can see that pattern. Did a pattern start to appear for any of your students? Any patterns emerging for any of your students in relation to those inference questions? Can't pull you away from your data. Did you find any students who might have got, say, 3 out of the 8 or 4 out of the 8? Yes? No? Is that a yes? Okay. If you find that group, can I just have your attention for the moment? Thanks. I know, get that data and you can't get... Can I have your attention? Thanks. Assuming that you did find several students who may have had 3 out of the 8 or 4 out of the 8, that tells you that inference is something that is worthwhile for that student. You have the evidence, and this same evidence could have been gathered from your actual teaching, day-to-day teaching, or from a test or assessment that you've put in place from your school assessment schedule. You have the evidence there, and then you have a group of students. That's a cohort for whom you might develop a learning log. But I want to draw your attention to, and this is how PLT can work at team level. Sorry, it's really hard when there's a background whisper, thank you. If you're here from a team, or when you're working back at school with your team, you might have, if I pick on these people down the front, from that data you might have 4 of them might be in your grade. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you a question. 4 of them might be in your grade, 2 might be in your grade, and 3 are in your grade. So that is a cohort. It's not just a cohort within a grade. In AIZ terms, that's a cohort across your 3 grades. You've got 4, you've got 2, you've got 3. We know their need is inference. We have the evidence before us. So then together in the PLT, we develop the learning log for what we are all going to do. We know we have the evidence. We're going to develop learning goals around inference, talk together and develop one of the best, most positive, powerful strategies, teaching approaches to go about it, and what evidence will we collect. Then you come back together in 4 or 5 weeks' time and, excuse me, Lena, can you turn the cooling off? It's freezing now. We can't win today. Does that make sense to you? And that is a very different thing. It is not a usual thing. In our Zone 1 schools, we found most schools would not sit down and there would be a general learning or an ILP for an individual student, but this is how a learning log will fit for your cohort. And then within your everyday classroom teaching, when you bring them out into small group, or you might do it in some of your whole class situations, or it might be some of the sharing that happens at the end of the hour, you are working through that log over the month. But you've developed the log in a way that you have learnt professionally from each other, because the suggestions here about what are the strategies, what are the ways and the approaches have come from all of you working together, from your team of 3, 4 or 5 teachers. Does that make sense? And at the same time, although these 3 teachers here might be going off with a log related to inference, everybody else in the group is having input and challenging the plan. And when you come back, the level of collaboration and challenge is still there. Is this the best way to do it? Does the evidence really prove that the students have moved on? Well, they've moved on this much. Well, now how do we get them to move on that much? Does that make sense? Okay.